Okay. I've got, first of all, the camera has a cord now, plugging it right into the wall. So the damn thing better not die in an hour. It still might do the thing where it turns off every, like, 20 minutes. But that's not as big of a deal. I can just, it makes a sound. So I noticed that I could just turn it back on. I got a light, so it's not as yellow anymore. And hopefully you can see a little better. And this is the sock that we made last time. She's all done now. We're making her mate today. Not blocked or anything. I don't usually block my socks just because I'm lazy and I want to wear them right away. So I gotta finish this one so I can wear them right away. It's already been too long, but I had other stuff going on. Oh my god. I turned my laptop on and for like 2 hours, it's just pop-up after pop-up, like Malwarebytes, YouTube recommendations. Leave me alone. Okay, let me make sure my carriage is not set correctly. Let's fix that. I oiled it and everything today, so hopefully it knits well. That wasn't a problem last time, but, you know, it's always a concern. What am I doing? This is not correct. None of this is correct. I didn't do my needle selection at all. Oh boy, let's hope I don't break everything. Come on. There we go. Okay. Let's just get everything out of here, pretend that didn't happen. Okay. I like to do a pass after the needle selection just to make sure everything's lined up right. Is that? No. That? This might give us a zigzag? I never remember how to do 2x2. I do 2x1 normally, and I'm going to again after this pair of socks is done. So I don't intend on learning 2x2 just to make this one sock. Nope, that's not right. You can see we've got a zigzag here, but this side, I don't know what that is. Like a heartbeat. Ooh, let go of the yarn. Give it back. How do you have it? Give it back. Oh, okay, I see. There's 3 needles out of work here instead of 2. That's probably the problem. Okay. Now we should be good, I hope. I mean, if not, it just takes a couple seconds to reset. It's no big deal. That's the great thing about machine knitting, is that if you make a huge mistake, it takes like 20 minutes tops to fix. Maybe a couple hours to redo the whole piece if it's a huge mistake. You make a mistake in hand knitting and you have to frog 75% of your work, it's like, good luck, buddy. That's the rest of your week fixing that. I could knit an entire sweater panel on this machine and realize I made a mistake row 2, unravel the whole thing, not even care. Because it'll probably take me a day tops to reknit it. That's why I love it for socks. I don't want to be super precious about socks. Like, they go into a sweaty shoe all day. I don't want it to be a thing that I spent like a week of love and effort making just for it to get like holy and stinky and nasty. Nobody wants that. I mean, maybe somebody does. Not me. Okay. And right now we're just doing waste yarn. So this is not the color that the sock is going to be. This is just going to get unraveled at the end. And I hope I have enough. I think I do. I only really need to get like... Yeah, this is probably already enough. And I've got, it looks like one more row. Ooh, maybe? Yep, one more row. And that was not, I usually do more waste yarn than that. I usually do like 15 to 20 rows. But I don't know where all of my waste yarn went. I really have to track that down, or make some new waste yarn clumps. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably enough. That's about how many I had for the other socks, so keeps the tensions close-ish. Where's my ravel cord? Oh, I'm gonna have to get in the way of the camera for a second. Oh, there it is. Okay, now that that's all done, we can actually cast on with the real yarn. Which I already threaded up before I turned the camera on, so I wouldn't have to get in the way until later, when I have to put more waste yarn. Okay, oh, don't forget to rack. There we go. I'm in half pitch? That doesn't seem right. I should be in full pitch. After I do the first row. It is still pretty yellow in here. I'll work on it. I know I have... My dad has a bunch of these little lights that, the one that I'm using, he said he's got more of. So, I'll track those down and put one on the other side of the room, I guess. Because it's still yellow, like over here on this half. This half is white. This half is white, because the light's on that half of the room. No circular. Okay, and now we reset the row counter. We call all of that row 1. Oh, and my river was not on the right tension, but that's probably fine. And I believe I just go to tension 3, but I have to check my notes. Yeah, tension 3. Which means this is my last tension adjusting row, and now I can just knit the ribbing. It's interesting that the microphone really just picks up the like higher pitch, dingy, like ringy sounds that the machine makes. It makes like a really deep, like machine gear, grindy sort of sound that just doesn't come through. I'm gonna have to try recording some audio one of these days with one of the better microphones I have, because I'm using a crappy like headset, like one of these. Because it picks up the machine noise the least out of all of the microphones that I have. I did tests before I did my first stream. And the other ones were all unlistenable. Like it was just machine, like you couldn't hear my voice. I don't speak very loud, is part of the problem. I think the reason this one works is because it's physically attached to my head about an inch from my mouth. And I still sound this quiet, and I had to put on audio ducking, and I'm talking at a normal volume. Like talking volume. If I was like heated in an argument, or just like ranting about something, I'd probably get louder. Also, don't worry about, there's a little square down here. Don't worry about that. That's camera UI. I have to install this thing to get the camera UI to stop happening, and I don't want to do it because it's scary. But I'm going to take a drink of water now. Another thing that I like about this microphone for this particular type of stream specifically is that it has a mute button right on the headset. So I don't have to keep, because my laptop is, I have to reach across the whole thing to reach my laptop. So having to press a mute button on there would be much less convenient. But I have some larger projects planned. I don't remember if I mentioned this previously. Probably, because I don't stop talking about it. 45. I have like 2 sweaters worth of yarn ready to go. Like, I need to make those sweaters on the machine, which is part of the reason why I wanted to get into machine knitting streams, because those are going to be long projects. It only takes me like a couple hours to make a sock, 2 if I'm really like moving, 3 or 4 if problems occur, or if I spend 10-15 minutes talking about nothing. Okay, yeah, 45 rows. But the sweaters are going to take multiple days, for sure. Multiple days of sitting down and just knitting. And they're also going to be probably pretty long knitting sessions. Anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. I cannot find my double-I transfer tool. Oh my god, I have like 5 of the little bastards. Where are they? Okay, I found one. That took a lot longer to find than I thought it would. Not sure where the one in my little accessory cup went, but that's why I got 5 of them. Because they are itty-bitty little bastards. It's just like a little piece of metal this big. And I'm supposed to keep track of that thing? I'm surprised this is the first time I've lost it. I was honestly expecting to lose way more of these. And it's time for me to take a break for 20 seconds. Okay. Back to the sock. Uh-oh. Yeah, I gotta figure out what's up with that. It shouldn't be doing that. I have it set to, like, not auto-off. But I'm gonna have to look into why it's still doing it. Hopefully, I will remember to set my carriage tension. I have forgotten that many times at this point. Because the next row I do is going to be stockinette, and my stockinette tension is different from my ribbing tension. Sometimes I'll remember to set it on the main bed, but I won't set it on the river bed. It still thinks I'm saying riverbed. I'm saying ribber with a B. Nope, still thinks river. But I forget to set it on the river, and then it's not correct. Trying to knit a tube where one half is way tighter than the other is not a good time for your foot or for your machine. It tends to like drop stitches and freak out and stuff when I try to knit tubular at this tension. Which is, you know, it's just kind of how machines are. You have to figure out what they can do and what they can't do. Every yarn is different, every machine is different, every ribber is different. Mine doesn't really like knitting anything that I've tried in it under tension 3. Sometimes it'll do ribbing at like tension 2, but anything below tension 2 doesn't knit at all. But that's the yarns that I've tried. And I tend to stick around like a sport weight or like a sock weight. I haven't done anything, I haven't tried like lace weight. I don't even know where to get my hands on lace weight yarn, quite frankly. One day I will get a ribber transfer carriage, but it's really not a high priority. This doesn't like bother me that much. I don't mind doing all these transfers. At least it's mindless. I don't like doing like pattern work by hand because I am not good at remembering things or keeping track of them or like counting. So that's why I like having a punch card machine. It'll do all of that for me, usually. I also like the punch cards because it's just like fitting. I like, because computer programming was created based on punch card programming, which was made for knitting, for textiles. And it's like, that's what this is doing. This is a knitting textiles machine that uses punch cards, and it's computer history. This is my gaming laptop's grandma. Admittedly, I have not looked into the history as much as I would like, because my brain doesn't really like reading, which I'm trying to get it to be better at, but it has not agreed with me thus far that reading would be good. It just doesn't want— ooh, you so bastard. It didn't want to knit this like last chunk of stitches. Let's see if I can fix it, or if I'm gonna have to redo the whole row. Is that the— no, that's not the only spot that it broke. Okay. I gotta redo the whole row. And like, I don't have to. I could just hand knit the stitches that didn't knit, but I like to redo the whole row when a bunch of stuff doesn't knit, because I get tension issues otherwise. Like if I hand fix them all, I'll have some weird noticeable texture issues. Tension. I forgot words for a minute. But yeah, it does cause texture issues as well. This better just be for flavor and not a live version, because I hate live versions. They never sound good. And I don't really like versions that aren't the edition, the recording studio edition that I'm used to. It freaks me out. Let's try it again. It should have no excuse now, because I pulled out all the needles. There we go. Was that so hard? You just had to knit one row of stockinette. Well, actually now you have to knit a couple more rows of stockinette, because I gotta do waste yarn. Let's get some waste yarn. This one feels nice and thick. Hopefully it's enough. I'm actually surprised that the only time I'm really imposing on the camera is when I have to do waste yarn or like find something behind the machine. I was expecting that my arms at least would get in the way more often, but they don't seem to. Not too bad. You can at least kind of see what's going on a good amount of the time. Not that there's much to see. I've said like pretty much every time I've done a sock that like what you see is what I'm seeing. It's maybe less. I might be seeing less because you can see the top bed and the bottom bed a little easier. I can't see like this edge of the bottom bed. Not really. I'm not gonna clip this. I'm just gonna. There we go. Okay, let's pull everything out again because it loves to mess up in like the first couple rows of waste yarn where it should not be messing up because that's going to be the hardest to fix. Well, not hard, but more irritating. Part of the problem is that my machine really doesn't like to do stockinette with the ribber plate on. It really wants to do it with the original one bed sinker plate. But I'm not going to change the sinker plate every time I have to switch between one bed and two bed knitting because I have to do that a lot for socks. So it can just suck it up and learn how to deal. And by suck it up and learn how to deal, I mean I just pull out the needles every row so that it knits properly. Maybe we'll try, let's see, how many rows do we have? Let's try 1 or 2 without pulling the needles out. Hey! 3 stitches didn't knit. Actually 4. This one on the end also didn't knit, but it's not a huge deal. Because this is waste yarn, so it's all getting unraveled at the end. So I don't really care if there's like tuck stitches or other issues. And it looks like I've only got 1 more row worth of yarn. Let's just go ahead. Finish that bad boy off. Oh, I bumped the camera. The only thing is I might have to figure out a way to get my camera a little higher up, because it's a little bit in head bonking range. Let's take off these weights. I don't want them to hit me in the toes, or the knees, or anything else really. Okay. So here is the ribbing so far. We got waste yarn down here, the white, and the darker green up here, also waste yarn. But we got this nice stretchy rib that is going to be the cuff of the sock. As you can see, sock cuff. It gets folded in half. And that's the step that we're about to do, is the folding in half. So I can push my carriages off to the side. And I've got to pull down my rubber bed so I can get in here and start picking up all these live stitches. Let me fix my needle counts. 15, 16, 17. 15, 16, 17. And on the bottom as well. 15, 16, 17. Okay. Nope. Sometimes it's faster to do 3 stitches at a time, and sometimes, if you're me, and you can never get more than 1 stitch to go onto the transfer tool at a single time, it's faster to just do them one by one. Because I will spend 10 minutes trying to get 3 stitches onto the transfer tool, and in that time I could have done like 7 single stitches. I'm just built different, and by different, I mean worse. Okay. And you've got to put a weight on after after you get some of the stitches on, otherwise they want to just fly off. And nobody wants that, because then you have to put them back on again, and you just did that. Uh-oh. Well, it was being very polite. The music wasn't skipping at all. Not like last time. Hopefully it was just one weird hiccup. I'm like super into making socks. I love machine knitting them, because like I said, I'm not super precious about them, so I don't mind like wearing them and getting them dirty, which I would definitely mind if I hand knit all of my socks. These don't feel as special. I do have a pair of hand knit socks. I also have a pair of hand knit slipper socks, and that's how I know that I would be too precious about them, because I am too precious about my hand knit slipper socks. Even though they were not very complicated to make, I never wear them because I don't want to ruin them. I pretty much only wear them in bed, so they never like actually touch the ground. But I've only had my machine since, well, I got the machine itself like a year ago. I got it July 2022, the end of July. But I got my ribber in, I think, February. And since then, I have already pretty much replaced every pair of socks that I wear with handmade socks, and hand-dyed too, because I couldn't find a good sock yarn that I liked the colors of, so I just buy white alpaca wool polyamide blend, and I dye it myself. With just like food coloring too, like I'm not doing anything crazy. I bought a Centro knitting machine, the little toy plastic ones, after I already had the machine and the ribber, because I wanted to do like gradient sock yarns, which, you know, like this one, where it's a whole solid gradient, the entire finished sock, because gradient yarns work really good for socks. I don't like gradient yarns for like really big projects. Trying to figure out how to make a sweater in a way that doesn't like break the gradient is irritating, but a sock is pretty easy. You don't have to worry about that. And the Centro will happily knit a sock blank that is double-stranded, whereas this machine did not enjoy doing that at all. The holding two yarns together is too thick for my quote-unquote real knitting machine. Big boy, this guy. It just completely like locks up, it can't do it. But I figure all I want to do is knit a sock blank so that I can dye it and then unravel it. I'm not gonna get like I considered getting a like an LK150 or a KX350, the plastic style flatbed machines. But maybe one day, but that's a lot of money for just knitting sock blanks that I'm gonna unravel, you know? I'm sure I would find other uses for it if I had it, but it's not really the right tool for the job. The Centro knits horribly, like really bad, like it's unbearable. The tension, bad. It's dropping stitches all the time. It's just, I just don't like it. I don't like using it. I don't like the final product. Good thing for me is that I'm unraveling the final product. Not so good thing for me is that making a sock blank on the Centro is really loose. So if I was looking to get like a good amount of resist from where the stitches are knitted together, I wouldn't get that because it's so loose and open that the dye can penetrate all of the stitches very easily. But the good thing for me is that I want that. I haven't done a colorway yet where I'm looking to have some like negative space speckling, but if I was looking for that, I would be screwed, because the Centro just can't do it. Even held together, these yarns are only like a DK weight, and it's time for me to take a stretch break. And I think the Centro is supposed to work with like up to size 5 bulky. You know, like a light bulky knot. I've worked with some pretty thick bulkies that were still considered a category 5. But something that's like a thick worsted. These do not equal a thick worsted. And even on a thick worsted, it's still making like really loose, airy, meshy stitches. So the Centro is just not good for tight knits. And it's kind of funny because I got into machine knitting because of Centro machines. I found out about them and I was like, wow, that's so cool, you can make a hat so fast. But I really like making hats by hand, so I don't really see a need to make inferior hats to what I could make, because I make my hats ribbed. I like a ribbed hat. I don't really want to do double layer stockinette hats. I don't like the look of them, even when they're knit well. And I don't think the Centro knits well. The texture is, like I said, very open and weird. Welcome to my stream where all I do is hate on Centro machines. No, but I was saying, I got into machine knitting because of Centro machines. I saw them and I was like, I didn't know that you could even like do that. And I didn't know that they were like consumer grade knitting machines. I had assumed there was something like that industrial level, but I'd never like thought about it for consumers. And then eventually I found out about flatbed machines. While I was looking at Centros, I was looking for good prices for the Centro machines on eBay, and I ran into a Singer flatbed machine. I'm trying to remember the model. I think it was a 328. It was green, or it had green dials. I remember that much because green's my favorite color, and I was like, it's destiny. I'm supposed to have this machine because it's green. I did not get that machine. It was very out of my price range at the time, which the Centro machines were out of my price range at the time, and they were like $40. So I did not get the green machine, and eventually I found this one when I had more money saved up, because I had decided at that point I wanted a flatbed. Specifically, I wanted one that would do most things that a flatbed machine can do, and this one can do pretty much all of them. It's got punch cards. I wanted a punch card machine too, because I don't feel comfortable with the electronic machines, first of all, because they're vintage or whatever, and the electronics like to just kind of turn to dust, I've heard, and then people don't really know how to or like want to fix them. I gotta figure out, I forgot about my working yarn, so now I gotta figure out where it is. What was I talking about? Oh, the electronic machines. And they also, like, they don't interest me as much because, like I said, the history of punch cards is more, like, they've got more, I don't know, they just got some more pizzazz to me. I like the punch cards. Also, electronic machines are really expensive. I got pretty lucky with the prices of, specifically my ribber was not too expensive. But yeah, those electronic machines, they'll ask for like over $1,000 for just the main bed. That's a lot. So eventually I found this machine and I got it, and I love it. And then it adopted a child, and by child I mean the Centro. But we came full circle. It's really fun. I love coming full circle. This never used to be a problem that I had. I don't know why I keep losing the working yarn. What is it caught on? How is it caught? Okay, nothing. It's just trying to gaslight me. I see. Okay. Back to excavating it. No, it's still acting like it's caught on something. What in the world is going on? At this point, I feel like it's faster if I just drop this first set of stitches and rehang them in a way that they're not trapping the yarn, because I don't know what it's caught on. I really don't. Nothing. It was just like ghosting. I guess it got like split stitch or something. I'm not sure. Anyway. Ow. My hand has been cramping up in this one weird way for like a week, and no like stretch that I do has fixed it, and it just got like really aggravated by the. Oh! Yeah, it does not like the way that I'm trying to hold the yarn. I don't even know why. I don't do anything with my left hand except hold a mouse, and I haven't been holding a mouse like weird or anything. I've been doing it the same as I always have, and I've never injured myself like this before, so I don't know what the deal is. Let's see if I can get these last three at the same time. Otherwise, there's going to be tension problems. Okay. And that probably was quicker than if I kept trying to figure out how the hell the yarn was caught. Because I still don't understand how it was caught. But now it's free. I can put my weights back on. And I can finish knitting this round. Which is again on the wrong side. Not sure why. But it's not the end of the world. It'll only be a problem until the heel flap and turn, and then it won't be an issue anymore. Oh dear. The camera turned off and I didn't notice. Good thing I didn't do anything interesting. I just finished rehanging the stitches, which has already been... I already did. I just had to redo it. So now I'm just going to knit these stitches, because these ones have been knit. It's like a half row. Okay. And now I can do circular. Oh, and I can zoom in now, since we're done with the wider range. That's only really for the ribbing. The rest of the sock happens more or less in this area. I can also move the tripod back a hair. There we go. Now it's more centered. When I pick up the stitches for the gusset, I forgot what it was called for a second, then it'll get wider, but I don't need to really zoom out or anything, because all the action is going to happen right here when I'm doing the gusset. And now we just knit until row 46, which is not actually row 46. It's actually row 23, because each one of these carriage passes is only half of a row round, since we're knitting in a circle. So it's bottom half of the circle, top half of the circle, bottom half of the circle, top half of the circle, etc. And that's row 42, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now I have to start the heel flap. Oh, my yarn's doing something weird. Okay. Now I have to start the heel flap, which is just going to happen on the top bed. So that's exciting. That's also where we lost a camera last time. I had just finished the heel flap, I think, and I was about to start the turn, and then the camera died. So this time you'll actually get to see what happens after I do the heel turn. So, to start the heel flap, first of all I've got my carriage set. Now we do this. Oh, I've got to do my row counter, because we also do 46 rows of heel, because I only wanted to remember one number. My next pair of socks, I'm going to do 46 rows of ribbing too. I do 45 because this was originally 45 was the one number I wanted to remember, but then both the tubular section and the heel flap wanted an even number, so it's just easier to switch to 46, but I didn't do it for the ribbing yet. Oh, looks like I need a little more weight. It's trying to... well, I gotta move them up. The fabric really loves to curl, and part of the problem with why you need weight on the knitting is that the way that it curls is that it wants to come... so like this is the fabric. It wants to curl up and over like this, which would make it pop off of the little hooks. And it needs to stay on the hooks, because that's how it gets knit, is when it's on the hooks. It's not allowed to go off of the hooks as much as it would like to. We stay strictly on the hook here. Ow! Ooh, that feels bad. I hope that's not bad. No, okay, it's fine. My weight slipped and snagged a stitch. I thought maybe it like split the yarn real bad, but no, I tugged on the fabric and it sorted itself out. I've only had problems with the weights ruining a piece of fabric, I think like once. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but it did like split the yarn and break the split strands, which was not good. But otherwise, I've never had problems with the weights. I have these like, my machine came with a free like bundle of old knitting machine magazines from like the 90s, like the early 90s. And there was an ad in one of them for this like type of magnet weight. It was like a big metal bar and some heavy magnets that you just kind of magnet around your knitting. And I was like, I want that so bad, but the company doesn't seem to exist anymore, and nobody has anything like it, and I've never seen used ones on eBay, so I'm gonna have to figure out my own weighted magnet system, I suppose. Not for socks. I don't think it would work for socks. The claw weights are good for socks, but for like sweaters, or like if I ever do a blanket, something big and flat like that. Oh dear. Sometimes the claw weights get a little bit bent out of shape, and you gotta just bend them back into being claw-shaped. My hat is a very similar green, you can kind of tell, to the sock yarn. I like green. I like this sort of green. Like a sort of slimy green. Yellow greens especially. We're definitely making similar time to the last sock, because I believe the last stream had to end at about like an hour 16, and I was just past this point when that happened. So. And I bonked the camera with my head again. I will get better at remembering that that's there. I keep the camera set up all the time, mostly because it would be a hassle to take it down and put it back up all the time, but also because when I'm knitting off stream, I get used to it being there, theoretically. I bonk it all the time. And it's time for me to take another quick stretch break. This song is, first of all, fantastic, but second of all, you really have to check out the music video. I cannot show it because I don't have it. The version of the video playing right now is not the music video. So even if I had my media share thing set up to be able to show video easily, it's not this video. It's just like a gnome doing interpretive dance. It's lovely. It's delightful. Oh, and I can actually demonstrate now. So the part that we're knitting right now, this is the other sock that we knit. So we already knit the ribbing. This was the first part. And then we transferred all of the stitches, and we knit this section right here of tubular stockinette. And now we're knitting specifically this part of the heel. And then we're going to do a little turn at the bottom here, so it's straight, and then we turn, and then we're going to knit this part of the foot and the toe. It's hard to explain what part of the sock we're knitting right now without like a sock to show you, and I have one this time. Last time I did not. And you don't really even have to do this pattern for the back of the heel. You could just knit this plain stockinette if you prefer. I'm pretty sure people do. But this is supposed to be a slightly more like reinforced stitch. So if you were to wear these socks inside of like sneakers every day for a year, it's less likely to wear out than if it were just plain stockinette. Because that's it's a little thinner. This thickens the stitches up just a tad bit. I also like the look of it. It gives it sort of like a faux ribbing look. I definitely have to, next time I do yarn dyeing, I want to try some more dark colors. I haven't had a lot of success with dark colors in the past. I've just kind of gotten weird, like muddy sort of nothingness. But I think if I use way more vinegar and heat the yarn for quite a bit longer, I will probably get better results, because this is the most saturated yarn I've ever made. Like, it's so saturated that it literally, when I show this one on camera, it's like blown out how yellow it is. It doesn't look that yellow in real life. It's still pretty yellow, but it doesn't look like my eyeballs are bleeding yellow. It's like a pleasant dandelion sort of golden color. And I'm pretty sure the only thing I did different for this yarn than all the other times I've dyed yarn is that I used more vinegar and maybe more heat. I don't know. I don't remember. I dyed this kind of a while ago, and I don't write things down because I go, oh, I will remember, and then I don't. And the kicker is that I also don't remember next time I think, oh, I will remember, that I've never remembered before when I've said that. I forget, and then I just am like, well, I'm so genius, I'll simply remember. And I have no reason to believe otherwise. Okay, it's almost heel turn time. Woohoo! Oh, I hit the camera again. Actually, it wasn't the camera that time, it was the tripod. Okay. Now it's time for the heel turn, and I always mess this part up. Literally last time, I was like, hopefully I don't mess it up, and then after the stream ended, because the camera died, I realized that I messed it up. So I had to redo the entire the entire heel turn. And I was so embarrassed. Not really. I don't really care. But I hope I don't mess up the heel turn, because it's kind of annoying to redo it. Oh, I hit the microphone. Although, it's not like you could tell. I listened to such weird music that could have just been a sound effect. Okay, so the first row of the heel turn, we knit half of the stitches plus 2, and then knit 2 together, knit 1. I'm talking out loud, not because this is a tutorial, but because if I don't, I'll mess up. And then the next row, we skip 1, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 1. It's not, like, complicated. It's just, if I stop paying attention for like 2 seconds, I'll forget a step and then wreck the whole thing. And now we knit everything except for that one, because that one's a knit 2 together. And then we have to transfer everything over. Because now we have to transfer 1 over for a knit 1. And then we just keep doing that same thing until we've knit all of the stitches. So we knit the last one together, and then we transfer everything over. I've never tried to do a different sort of heel turn on the machine. I know that you can, obviously, and there's other types of heel turn, but this one fits my foot okay, so I don't really have a reason to learn another one. I imagine that doing like a Dutch heel or a square heel would probably work out pretty easily. But, again, I don't have a reason to try, because this fits my foot just fine. I might try one day, though, just to see how that fits. My hand-knit pair of socks, I think, has a heel turn that's similar to the Dutch heel, square heel, whatever it's called. But it was knit toe up, so it's not exactly the Dutch heel, because that one's a cuff down technique, I'm pretty sure. And that's all I knit on the machine, is cuff down socks, because toe up is too complicated. Because you can only knit ribbing flat, so I would have to like hand knit the ribbing or knit it separate and then sew it on, and that's just, it's easier to do it like this. It's all one piece, it's pretty, it works out. I only have to sew up a little bit of ribbing at the end. I don't have to hand knit anything. And I like hand knitting, I really do. But if I had to hand knit the ribbing on every pair of socks I ever made, I would not do it. That's just too much work, and I don't really like working with smaller needles as much. My favorite way to knit is like a DK weight yarn and like 9-10 millimeter needles. I love the fabric that makes, and I love doing it. It's really good. I made a shawl like that at the beginning of the year. I cannot remember the name of it. I think it's the Cosmos wrap. And it's just like my favorite thing that I've ever made. Whoops. No big deal. I just pulled the needle out farther than I should have, but that's an easy fix. Hopefully I won't like realize that I made a horrible mistake somewhere and have to redo a bunch of this. Ooh, that's not a good sign. Oh no, wait, it might be fine actually. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think we still have even stitch count on both sides, which is really what we want. I would mess this stuff up when I was doing short row heels too. I would end up with an uneven number of stitches on either side. And it's like, how, man? Like, it's so easy to just do the same thing on both sides of the heel every row, and I can't do it. There's something wrong with me. I don't even have to be like talking about stuff on a stream or whatever, because I'll do this when I'm in the comfort of my own home, not talking to anybody. I will still make the same mistakes. I'm not paying attention to nothing, which is bad. I should be paying attention to the knitting. I don't know what happens. I think it's because it's just like repetitive and kind of simple to do, so I just kind of check out because I'm like, this doesn't really need my full attention. I feel like the music is a little loud. I'm gonna turn that down a little. Excuse my hat being the entirety of the frame for a couple seconds. Wow. Maybe that song is just really loud because I had to turn it down a lot. Did I did not do a knit two together? No, I didn't. Don't remember what I was talking about. Something about focusing on the knitting. Doesn't really matter. Okay, we're getting close. We've got, I think, 2 more transfers to do, so that's 4 more rows. Yeah. Wow, I turned the music down so much that I can hear all of like my tool clicking and dings and stuff on the audio monitor now. So awesome. I mean, it's all gonna be in the YouTube VOD anyway, because there's no music in that. So, it was always there. I just didn't notice it before. And you can see me struggling with the weights down here. Awesome. And this one is really easy. This is the best transfer of the entire thing, because I don't have to do 2 steps. I can just grab it and move it. And that's it. And that's the whole heel turn. This is where the camera had cut out like 2 rows into the heel turn last time, so we didn't get even close to this far. Now it's time to take the whole thing off again and rotate it 90 degrees so we can do the gusset. There's like a line of decreases right here. We've got to turn it 90 degrees so we can do those decreases. And then we'll have to turn the whole sock 90 degrees again later on so that we can knit the toe. Basically put it back in its original orientation. Okay, I have to... No, I don't have to do anything special with the waste yarn this time, but I do have to thread up some waste yarn. This one seems like a lot. That one seems like a good amount. Whoop. I gotta rewind it. Okay. Got that all threaded up. I just gotta grab a clip down here. Where are my clips? Oh, there they are. Okay. Make sure to push everything out because it doesn't like to knit otherwise, even when I set it to plain. And it looks like I've got 1 row, maybe 2 rows left. Yeah, I could get another row out of this. Actually, I could get another, maybe 2 rows out of this waste yarn. I do have to move my weights up. But I'm just gonna have to take them off again in a second, so I'm not super worried about it. I don't think I need this much waste yarn, but it's better to have too much, because, oop, bonked the camera again. Because it sure does like to mess up. Okay, this is not going to knit properly. I don't know what happened. There we go. And now we have to do waste yarn on the bottom bed. Which means I've got to obscure the camera and possibly bump it again. And okay. There we go. Come on. The yarn never wants to go down in between the knitting beds. Okay, there it goes. Okay. Let's give it the best chance possible of knitting properly, because boy oh boy, it loves to not do that. There we go. Last sock I made, the one that matches this one, it didn't knit when I did that first pass of the waste yarn for the bottom bed, and I had to rescue the whole bottom half, well, technically the top half of the sock, and re-knit the last row. Well, it's time for me to stretch and drink some water. And what a time for the camera to decide to end its own life. I've really got to figure that out. I don't know why it's doing that. It's not supposed to. There just might not be anything I can do about it, but I guess we'll find out sometime. eventually, when I get around to looking into it. Oh boy, some Tool. It sets the music on for anybody that's unfamiliar with Tool. I could probably stop pushing the needles up at this point. If it knits, it knits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Once you've got a few solid rows of waste yarn down, it really doesn't matter if it messes up, in my experience. Okay, there's all our waste yarn done. Now we can take the whole thing off. And I can take off these weights, as I do, because I don't want them to drop onto me. They're only like, I think each one of these little claw weights is like 7 ounces or something, but it adds up. I got like 5 of these on here. Yeah, 5 of them. And that's like over a pound. I don't do math. I say as a knitter, which is one of the most math-filled hobbies you could possibly have. Okay, let me get this situated so I can show you what we're at. Because, like, this is the exciting part, is when it comes off of the machine at various intervals, and you can see the progress that you've been making. So here it is. So we've got, this was the waste yarn that we originally cast on with, and then there's a row of ravel cord, and then here is all of the ribbing, the waste yarn, when we took it off, and then folded it in half, so that we could knit tubular for this section. And then here, my yarn is caught, here is the heel flap that we just knit. It's a big flat rectangle right now. And then this is the heel turn, which my camera does not autofocus. I have to, that's the heel turn. Wow, that's pretty crisp. You can like see the stitches and stuff. I mean, this is a decent camera, but I wasn't expecting you to be able to make out any of the stitches. And that's the, let me get even closer and zoom a little more, or focus more. This is the textured stitch for the back of the heel. Versus the stockinette. You can kind of see the difference. But now it's time to rehang this whole thing onto the machine. But instead of, because before it was hanging this way, with the heel flap up here and the rest of it on this bottom bed. Now we're going to hang it this way so that half of the heel flap is on the top, half of it is on the bottom, and same with the instep side. And the only real reason to do that is that it's really hard to pick up all of the heel flap stitches if you don't rotate it 90 degrees. It just makes it a lot easier. The tension is like the #1 thing all the time. Gotta worry about tension. And it's just not, the tension's just not when you try and do it without, like the first pairs of socks I did without turning the sock 90 degrees because I was like, that's gonna be too much work. So I would just kind of wrangle the stitches onto the machine otherwise. And let me tell you, once I started doing it this way, I was like, oh, the other way is awful, actually. The tension was bad. The final outcome, bad. There was no reason to do it that way. And I was also doing a much shorter heel flap because I was still learning, and I didn't know what size heel flap would suit my heel. So I was doing like a very square heel flap. It was very squart, and it does not fit my foot at all. If you look at this one, the heel flap is pretty long because I have pretty long heels, it turns out. I measured, because I watch knitting videos for fun, of course. I was watching a video on troubleshooting sock fit. I think it was by Roxanne Richardson, but it might have been a different... I've watched a lot of troubleshooting sock fit videos. And whoever it was talked about how to measure your heel and then like figure out how long to make your heel flap. So I did that, and it turns out my heel is like 2.5 inches long, which I think is long. I think because the standard size heel flap I was knitting according to the initial instructions that I found was only like 32 rows, and I'm currently knitting a 46 row heel flap, and honestly, I might try making a longer one of these days because I almost feel like I could use a couple more rows. But I think that one was only like, the standard heel flap I was knitting, I think was only like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. I don't recall, but it's definitely... Actually, I'm wearing a pair of those right now. The old ones I made. I can measure. I've only got centimeters, but... It is about 5 centimeters, which would be 2 inches, as opposed to the new style of heel flap that I make, which is 8 centimeters. So it's not a huge difference, but like feel-wise, the way it fits is a big difference. I still wear the ill-fitting socks that I've made though, because like I did hand dye all of this yarn, so I do still feel connected to all of the socks that I've made, but they're not my favorites because they don't fit very well. What am I doing? No. I've put way too many stitches on. And by way too many, I mean one. One too many stitches. And I gotta check my notes for the stitch count on the other side. Wow, this song is still going, huh? Okay, I start at stitch 25 for the live stitches from the heel turn. It's actually not great, I suppose, that I have all of my numbers written out because I have forgotten how to calculate how many stitches you want for the picking up off of the heel flap. So if I need to make a different size heel flap, I'll have to refigure out how many stitches I'm supposed to hang at this part. But it's not a huge deal, it's mostly trial and error anyway. I mean, you can figure it out trial and error. I think there is also math you can do to know for sure, but trial and error has definitely gotten me there before. Ooh, my back. have like an armrest over here to make it not as bad on my back when I do all of these like pickups and transfers and stuff. And then I always forget to actually use it, which is really great. I love that for me. Okay, and that's off screen, but it's not important. It'll come onto screen as I knit, because I'm transferring everything towards the middle slowly. Like I said, all of the action's gonna happen like literally right here. I gotta transfer everything over every row, basically. Well, every other row. Oof, now my wrist. It really is like very body intensive to do knitting machine stuff. Which, I mean, it probably wouldn't be if I would take breaks like a normal person. But I got that mental illness that says, no, 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 no. We're focused now. We gotta finish this. Which I guess is like, at least I'm finishing what I started for once, you know? That's a nice change of pace. I'm just gonna knit those together to try and prevent a hole. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, I've got all my stitches picked up where they're supposed to be. So now it's time to do the same thing on the bottom bit. Oh. It tried to play the same song again a second time, but I guess it realized the error of its ways. Which is good. It was being really weird last time, and I'm not sure why. Hopefully this is the next stitch, otherwise I'm gonna have to shift some things around. Yeah, that looks like it's right. Oof. Yeah, I gotta take a quick stretch. It's not, my timer hasn't gone off yet. I don't know how long it is until it goes off again. Watch it be like 2 minutes, but I definitely have to stretch for a second. Okay, let's see if we can get the rest of this hung without my body falling apart. I've knit an entire pair of socks in one sitting before, and then some days it's like, nah, your body is too fragile to even knit half a sock. But I've been having fewer issues since I switched to the heel flap and gusset and wedge toe. When I was knitting short row heels and short row toes, I had more problems. Because, I don't know, I guess they just took more out of me. Oh dear, I've split the yarn here. Let's not do that, ideally. Because you do notice in the final sock, and it's not fun to try and fix. It's always harder to pick up the edge stitches on the bottom bed because they want to roll in towards the center. So my hands are very much in the way for this part because I have to keep control of the fabric lest I pick up the wrong stitches and end up with a wonky heel. One of these days, I have to get around to filming an actual tutorial for doing this style of heel, because there's tutorials out there, but the ones that I found were written instructions, or I think I found a video that wasn't in English about doing this on Brother Machines, but the video I was able to find in English was doing the heel this style on a PASAP machine, and they are very different processes. Like, their machines work strange. So trying to figure out the instructions based on that was a nightmare. Hence why I sought out written directions. Oh, and now it's time for me to take a break. Okay. I never actually checked. I don't know if my break timer sounds come through on the stream. I know they used to when I did art streams, but I don't know if I changed that at all between then and now. Because I like set everything up to do art streams in 2022, hence the whole like new layout and everything. That's when I set this up. But then I didn't have time all of July 2022 to do art streams. So I didn't, and the layouts have all just kind of sat unused until now. But I kind of like I am definitely into the idea of doing Knitting Machine streams. I would love to do them more often. Until now, it has been a lot of like technical difficulties, but I think I'm getting to the spot where it's like more doable. I have to figure out the camera shut-off thing, first of all. Like, that's the next thing on the list. Hopefully it's solvable. Otherwise, I will be very sad, but there won't be anything I can do about it. I will keep using this camera, even if I have to remember to turn it on every now and then. Because the webcam was not it. Like, if you go back and watch the first test knitting stream, it's bad. The angle, bad. The quality, bad. It's just not good. This one is way better. Like, you could see the stitch definition. Like, when I held the finished sock up to the camera, you could make out the knits and the purls and the slip stitches. Like, look at that. You don't get that with a webcam. Even if I do have to manually focus. It's better than the alternative. Okay, where is my... Is that it? Is that what I need to knit? I don't know. This is always the hardest part, is figuring out what I need to knit. I think it's that. I'm gonna call it that. I'm gonna say that that's the right thing. Oh, I gotta hang some weights before I pick the bed up, otherwise stitches are liable to pop off of the needles, and I don't want that, because I just put them there. They need to stay there. That's where they live for now. Okay, now we can pick the whole thing up. And we should be knitting on the bottom bed first, so all of these can come up. Yeah, we're knitting on the bottom bed first. Okay. Got my row counter set to 0. Got my carriage set correctly? Maybe? Please? Ooh. My yarn tension is not good. Let's fix that. Okay, yarn tension fixed. Carriage set correctly. I'm gonna redo that one, because I forgot to... Ow! I forgot to tug on the yarn at the very beginning, so I might have a loose stitch there, and it's honestly easier to just pull this back and redo it than to try and fix the tension manually. Okay. got it reset, pick all my needles again. I mean, I don't have to, but I like to for like the first 6 rows, just because the waste yarn causes some issues with regards to stitches wanting to stay on the needles. It bunches up and like the fabric tries to jump off of the hooks. Okay, that's row 1. Now we can do row 2, which is actually still row 1 because we're knitting circular. And now we start our transfers. So let me just make sure I'm focused properly. Okay, so you can kind of see that the number 0 is right here, where I've got my my orange thing pointed. Right around here. We are going to needle 1, needle 2 is where this bad boy is where all of the transfers are going to, because it makes a nice clean decrease line. So I move everything over on to 2, and then I have to move everything over so that there's not a gap. One day I will have a bigger transfer tool, like one with 7 prongs, maybe. And then I won't have to do as many transfers, but I will still have to transfer everything over so that there's no gaps. Come on. This yarn isn't like super splitty, but sometimes it just gets like really stubborn and it just loves to split. Uh-oh, I dropped a stitch. Okay. Hopefully I didn't split that stitch trying to rescue it, because it was already splitting when I was trying to get it off of the needles. That's what the one I was complaining about. I do probably still have to white balance the camera. It is still, even with the extra white light, it's still very yellow in here. But, I mean, I already have to mess with the camera to see if I can get it to stop turning off, so I can do that while I'm in there. But it's a problem for another day. Oh my god. Stop splitting. These transfers do get faster, naturally, as the, as the number of stitches starts to shrink. Because we are slowly decreasing back down to the number of stitches that we started with, because we picked up a whole bunch of new ones on the side of the heel flap. And it's fine that the camera turned off, because the stuff I was working on is off screen right now anyway. It'll take a couple of rows, but it'll get back on screen eventually. Okay, and then we knit a plain row. There's a hair. Come on. Okay, it just lives there now. So that's our plain row. Now we have to do all of our transfers again. And we just keep doing this until we're down to our original stitch count. Or if I was doing a different stitch count for the foot, I would keep going until I was at that stitch count. But for me, it's not a problem to do the same stitch count for the ankle and the foot. I might try one of these days doing a slightly thicker ankle, because I got kind of fat legs. And I also like my socks pretty tall, so it could benefit me to have a little bit of extra width. Just because I make like basically mid-calf socks. Oh, you know what? I might have set the camera off to 30 minutes while I was doing testing, and then never bothered to actually set it to never. I have a vague memory of doing that, but human memory also loves to just be wrong. I'll check that after I do these transfers, actually. There will be camera UI on screen, because there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, I could unplug and replug the camera, but that would be more work than just letting you see the camera UI for like 2 seconds. Because I would have to like reset the video source and stuff. Okay. Did my transfers. Let me check the camera. No. Look, auto power off. I don't know. I tried. Another plain row, and now we do our transfers. What's the highest number that the camera can see? It looks like it's 20. Yeah. We're not there yet. We're still at 32. So, it'll be a couple more rounds before we're visible again. Actually, like a lot. Because we're only going to 17. We're decreasing until we have 17 stitches right of center. Because that's how this is numbered. 0 is in the middle, and then it goes up, and then it goes up on this side. So, when I'm knitting to... When I say like I have 17 stitches, I mean I have 34 stitches, because 17 is half of 34. I have double the amount of stitches that my needle count will say on either side. I gotta scoot in my chair a little. I'm back way too far. I don't know why. That happens. Okay. And then our plain round, and now we transfer again. This part is at least, like, this is actually easier for me to keep track of than the heel turn, for some reason. But, I mean, I guess it makes sense because I just have to check my row counter, and if the current row count is a multiple of 4, then I have to do a plain round. And if the current round is not a multiple of 4, because it'll always be even, but if it's not a multiple of 4, then I just have to do the transfers. Right now, the row count is 14. We will continue with decreases until I think like row count 70 is when I finish for this particular pattern. So, we'll be here a while. This particular step of the process. It usually takes me like 2 or 3 hours to knit a sock. It looks like we're about 2 hours in. 2 or 3 hours to knit a sock is really not bad, considering how long it takes to do by hand. I knit socks by hand recently, and it took, I think, about a week. I did have to re-knit the cuff at some point because it was too tight, but otherwise, I was pretty much just powering through that bad boy. It was a cabled sock pattern, so it did have a lot going on, but definitely took me longer than I expected it to. Because I may have warped my perception of how long it takes to make socks by machine knitting all of my socks. Well, there goes the camera again. I mean, it's not out. I hit it. Oh, time for another break. The break timer does help with reminding me to, like, drink water. The stretching doesn't help as much as I would like it to. because the problem is mostly that I have my elbows unsupported while I do all of these transfers. Usually, but now that I've got the armrest, I've got to remember to use it so that I don't have fully unsupported elbows 90% of the time. Gotta love that. Transfer tool ASMR. Here, I can get in close. But I should record like some ASMR type things, because I have a better microphone that would probably pick up the sounds very nicely. It's just not good for streaming because it picks up the sounds very nicely. The machine already sounds pretty loud with the current setup, and like I said, this is the best audio setup I was able to come up with out of all of the microphones in my house. All of the settings I know how to use in OBS. This is the least noisy situation I was able to come up with. You already can't really hear me over the machine if I talk while I'm knitting, which is fine because I'm usually not talking while I'm knitting. I usually talk while I'm doing transfers and stuff like this. The quiet, boring sort of work. Although sometimes it's not boring because I have to focus, and then I get so focused that I forget to talk, or that I'm a person and alive, which happens a lot. We're at row count 22, by the way. Oh, I stretched it too much, and then my vision went out for a second. That ever happened to you? You stretch and then your eyeballs forget how to see? It happens to me a lot. Once we get past the gusset decreases, it's pretty much smooth sailing for a while. Because we'll end up on row 70 something after the decreases, and then we just knit plain tubular until row count 90. So we've got a good 20 or so carriage passes of absolutely nothing going on. And then I have to rotate the whole thing 90 degrees. Why did I pick row count 90 to rotate it 90 degrees? That's a good question. The first pair of socks that I knit where I had to rotate them 90 degrees, that's where I ran out of yarn. I was doing the foot one color and then the toe a different color, and row count 90 is where I ran out of my foot color, and I was like, well, might as well just rotate it now. And then the habit stuck. So now I just do 90. Also, it works out because 90, and then I have to rotate it 90 degrees. It makes sense. I love this song. Don't know the name of it. Like, I could look up and see what it is, but it's more fun to me to try and guess. Is this one... Ooh, what is this one? It's not Hysteriantics, I don't think. Is it? No. Maladapted. I knew it was off of the newer album, which, what was the other one that I just said? I know that one isn't. I comment on the music a lot, so that's probably annoying for people that watch on YouTube, but you know, you can just come follow me on Twitch, and I stream sometimes. Having a schedule is, like, hard. I'm not gonna do that. I'll stream once every 3 years, and you'll be surprised by it, and you'll watch it, maybe, and it'll be fun. And you'll get to actually hear the music, which actually, that might be a downside to some people. But I have music requests open, so if you'd rather listen to better music, by your standards, then that option's always available. Well, I don't know about always. I might turn it off eventually, but as of right now, it's available. Because I know, like, I know that Igor is not exactly everybody's cup of tea. And Horker, if that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. He's French. I don't respect the French. I say, knowing how to speak French. I don't do the accent, though. They can try and decipher my American accent. That's my one act of rebellion. We are approaching what you can see. We got, let's see. Looks like you can see up to 22, and we're currently on 25, so there's only a couple of more rows until all of the sock is back on frame again. Let's see, that would be 3 more stitches have to move over. And we're doing 1 stitch every 4 rounds. So that's 12 more rounds before the whole sock is visible again. That's not so bad. my armrest is starting to get like really bent out of shape. So I'm gonna have to replace this foam soon, probably. It's literally just, it's a tripod that has a board stuck to the top of it that I put some foam on top of. That's my armrest. And you know what? It works. But the foam is wearing out fast, so I might have to get a bigger board to support more of the weight of my arm. I wonder if I should zoom in like more? I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to focus if I zoom in anymore, so. You'll just have to, you know, figure it out. Squint. Guess what's happening, if you can't tell. It's like, I'm familiar enough with machine knitting that I can tell what's going on from just the setup I've got right now. But I imagine if you don't know what's going on, this is probably confusing. Oh well. I mean, you can always ask if you have any questions. I don't mind talking about whatever, but there's only so much I can do visually. Oh, speaking of knowing a little bit of French, the name of this song is On the Ocean, the Color of Iron. So there you go. I wasn't lying. Oh, I hit the camera again. When I was a senior in high school, my French class was only 4 people. It was me and 3 other guys. And there was an exchange trip that year where French students from all of the grades had the opportunity to go to France, and half of my class went, including my teacher. So there was like a good couple of weeks, I think maybe like a month, I don't remember how long it was, that it was just me, one other kid, and a substitute teacher in a silent classroom for we did nothing. There was nothing to do. What are you gonna do? Teach 2 kids French in a senior level French class when you're a substitute that probably just knows what's in the notes? It was basically just an extra study hall, which was pretty chill. You can see the whole sock again. My table is shaking like nobody's business. You can see it. It ends right here. So we're getting there. There's only a couple more transfers to do. We're on row count 58 for anybody counting. Or not counting, I suppose. If you are counting, you would know that already. If you were counting the right way, anyway. And then once we've got all the transfers done, and we've rotated the sock 90 degrees again, we're pretty much done. Like, we just have to knit a couple more rows after rotating the sock, and then decrease for the toe. And then the whole thing comes off, and it's a sock. I just have to do some finishing work. Like, I have to sew up the toe and the ribbing, but otherwise, it's a sock when it comes off the machine. And I can show you the difference of a sock that just came off the machine versus a finished sock, because I have the finished sock. This really worked out so lovely. I'll definitely I'll take some notes from this experience for when I do get around to filming a actual tutorial for the gusset style heel on the Brother machines. Because it is handy to have a sock that's already done that you can show off to explain what's happening. Because there's nothing to see here. Like, it's a yellow rectangle is what the sock looks like right now. To you and to me. It's incredibly hard to tell what you were doing. You need to know what you're doing. And sometimes on this bed, the bottom one, stitches will tuck and I can't see because I'm like, I'm over here. So I'm looking at it from a different angle. Top-down angle, you can actually, like, if it was focused well enough, you'd be able to tell if I had a tuck stitch and didn't notice, but it's not focused well enough for you to see that. You would also have to know what a tuck stitch looks like. But if anybody else machine knits, I'm sure they know what a tuck stitch looks like. And if you don't machine knit, I'm not really sure what the appeal of these streams would be, but Godspeed. It's always fun to learn about new stuff, though, isn't it? That's what got me into machine knitting. I started learning about machines because I didn't know about them, and now look at me. I have one. Because the mental illness won that day. It really is lovely, though. I love cranking out socks like this. And I mean, I'm not really cranking them, because circular sock machines actually have a crank, and you crank them to make socks. But you know what I mean. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that I have a flatbed instead of a circular sock machine, because I would rather have these gusset heels than the short row heels. The short rows don't fit me as well. Is this our final transfer? Maybe. Yeah, it looks like it. Row 66. For anybody counting. We are now back to 17 stitches, either side of 0, which means I can put my transfer tool away, and I can just knit now. I do think I need to adjust my weights, but it's okay. That's the kind of thing you have to do pretty often when you're making a sock. Even more so if you're doing short rows. Good God, short rows do not like to behave. They want to pop off the needles so badly. I thought I had a third weight on the back. I guess I don't. That's 90. So now we take this bad boy off on waste yarn, but we have, oh, okay, give me a sec. I've got to rethread I've got to put some waste yarn up anyway, so you won't be missing much. You'll just be missing me obscuring the entire camera view. Okay. I threaded up some waste yarn, and now we have to knit U-shaped waste yarn. I forgot to do this on the last sock that I made, and it was not fun to try and fix. It was kind of nightmarish, actually. Because I had to try and, like, reach under the machine to unravel the yarn. It was not working out. Okay, let's pull all of these up so that they actually knit. Oh, why is it being so difficult? There is no reason for that. And now we reverse our circular settings. I've really got no idea why it's struggling so much to knit in that one particular direction, but, you know, nothing I can do about it. Like, I just oiled it, so it can't be that it needs to be oiled. I oiled it literally before stream. Oh, and there goes our waste yarn. Sometimes it just releases from the tension mast very violently. But that's all we need waste yarn wise. We can knit the bad boy off, and I can show you where we're at. It's basically a sock now. We're just gonna have to do the toe, which is why we have to rotate the whole thing 90 degrees. Because right now, so when we knit the toe, so here's the sock. Right now, it's laying on the bed like this. So like the part of it part of the top is up here, and part of it's down here. We need it to be like this, so that the toe is like, you know. So now we take it off of the machine. Another thing about taking it off and rotating it 90 degrees is that I get one last chance to check for mistakes before I knit the hard part to undo. Because if I have an issue and I have to undo the toe decreases to fix it, that's so annoying to try and fix. It's probably the worst. In fact, it was so daunting that I actually didn't bother on the last sock. There was an issue that was underneath one of the toe decreases, but I was like, no, this is a minor enough problem that I'm not going to bother fixing it. So, this is actually, yeah, this is how it was on the machine. So here's where we picked up for the gusset, and then we knit all of these decreases down. It's sort of hard to see because this is such brightly colored yarn, but there's a nice line of decrease stitches here, which we got from doing our decreases on needle number 2 every time. So we knit down to here, here's our waste yarn, and it's U-shaped, as you can see. There's nothing, it's not connected here, but it is connected on this side, so that we can flip it 90 degrees and put it back on the machine like this, so we can knit the toe and have it be in line with the heel. Oh, I gotta refocus this. One of these days I'm gonna forget to refocus the camera, and it'll just be blurry for like an hour before I notice. I'm calling it now. Okay, which side am I gonna need the carriage to be on? It looks like I will need it to be on this side. Whoops. Unhand those. And now it's just another, like, rehanging stitches process, which is a lot of the sock process. It's just hanging and rehanging stitches. But that's okay. It's chill and easy. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. It's just pick up stitches, put them on needle. Oh. Once again, failing to pick up multiple stitches. Let's get a weight on here because it's already trying to pop off of the needles. Oh, come on, music. You don't have to skip. You can be nice to me. It's good that I had green waste yarn for this, and I hope I'll have some more. Yeah, I've got more for the toe. Last sock, I had run out of green waste yarn by this point, and I was trying to pick up yellow stitches from white yarn, and it was kind of hard to see what I was doing. Only have one more waste yarn occasion for this sock though, and that will be when we take it off the machine for good, because it'll be done. We just have to knit the toe. We are truly in the home stretch after I get these stitches on the needles. Until then, it's going to be a while. Ooh. This really is the most, like, I don't want to say stressful, but it's like the part that makes my body saddest is trying to hang a bunch of stitches. Because it's a lot of, like, being hunched over, picking things up carefully. And I've tried all kinds of, like, heights for my chair and positions for my chair, etc. I don't think it's the chair. I think that it's just picking up all of these stitches is kind of, in its nature, a grueling task. I guess I ran out of stuff to talk about. I said all of the things that I could ever say, and now it's just sock time. Like, there's nothing that can be done about it. It's just time to focus on sock, you know? Sometimes I can get multiple in one go when I do the bottom. No, not yet. This one wants to split, so it's gonna be annoying. I gotta do it single. Ooh, my wrist. Oh, I'm so glad this is the last time I have to do this before this sock is done. Will not have to ever pick up stitches for this bad boy ever again, because soon the stitching will be done. Okay, let's try and get 3 at a time. Can we do it? Alright, let's go. No, those ones are like weirdly tucked. That's not happening. The good news is, if/when I get around to those sweaters, one of them is lace, and I have to take the ribber off in order to do lace. I mean, I don't have to, but if I'm going to be streaming it, then I will, because then you'll actually be able to see what's going on. Watching lace get knit on one of these machines is, to me, so interesting and like satisfying, because it's just like I'm just sliding a piece of plastic back and forth across the bed, and it just starts making like beautiful patterned open work. It's crazy. It's more visually interesting than a sock anyway, and you also get to see more of it as it's knitting. It's like it's a win-win. You really can't lose. But I probably won't start that until at least next year, because I'm not going to have any use for a lace cardigan over the winter, you know? But I do have I have a Fair Isle cardigan, or not cardigan, no, sweater vest to work on, but I still have to do testing with the punch cards, because the last one that I tried, my yarn did not like knitting. It kept messing up. So I've got to refine some punch card designs to get it to a point where it's happy. Point where it's happy and I'm happy with the way that it looks. And I'm gonna drink some water now. We are about to enter the final batch, I suppose, of knitting. I just have to rehang my weights and slide this whole thing up. Okay, it's ready to knit. I've got one of my weights is not cooperating. Okay, I've got weight hung. I've got to reset my row counter back down to 90. And my first row is a half row. That's right. So I've got to knit this, make sure my tension is good. Okay. Looks like that knit well. I think I need another weight. Yeah, it looks like. Okay, and now we just knit until, I believe, row 116. So right now, row count is 91. Yep, 116, and then we start doing toe decreases, which are pretty much the same as the gusset decreases. We just don't have to do as many of them. Uh-oh. I forgot to reset the carriage for circular. Which is fine, because I would actually rather the machine knit nothing than knit a bunch of stuff off on accident. So now we should be good to go. Oof, it still does not like knitting in that direction, and I have no idea why. It might just be like static electricity. It is getting cold, but there's like I've got like a static reduction wire, and it doesn't seem to be helping at all. Oof. I knocked the whole thing out of focus. Let me just take this off and make sure there's not like fuzz or anything stuck in it. Well, I hit a knob, and now I can't remember which way it was supposed to go. So I have to check my manual real quick. I'm pretty sure that I want it to be set to R, but I don't remember. Okay, yeah. I want it to be set to R. Oh, come on. We're almost done. That's row 116. So now I reset to, I don't think I have to, but I would like to reset to 0. And I start doing my decreases. Yep, I have to like double check my notes every 5 minutes because my brain doesn't work. Oh, come on. It's usually very polite. I don't know why it's misbehaving today. It's probably static. I think it's getting a little cold here. I might have to break out my humidifier. And that was row 2, so I have to keep going. Now I do a decrease. And this is like the opposite of the gusset. Every multiple of 4, I do a decrease instead of when it's not a multiple of 4. The fact that it's only doing it on one bed in one direction is a pretty good indicator that the issue is probably static electricity, because it usually causes problems in very strange ways. Stuff that like will drive you crazy trying to find a mechanical cause. There's no mechanical cause. It's static electricity. I guess it's kind of a mechanical, but it's not like, you know, there's not a problem with the device itself, is what I mean. It's just sort of a natural barrier to success. What the? How did I get 2 stitches up over there? Get out of there. Ugh. And like, it's not the best to continue knitting when your machine is having a static electricity episode, but we're really, like, really close to the end. I don't see a reason to stop. Ugh. Hopefully none of these stitches split, because the edge stitches on the bottom bed here look like they want to split when I do my transfers. Oh hey, it knit real good that time. And we just keep doing this until there's 10 stitches total on each bed. So, until it's 5 to 5, both sides of 0. I mean, that's how I do it. You could do pretty much whatever stitch count you want for your particular toe. But I've got, like, kind of a long toe. So and this fits me, like, perfect. This is, like, the ideal sock for me, is this whole process. But making socks in general is sort of a trial and error process, which is also why I am thankful that I've machine knit all of my first pairs of socks, because if I was hand knitting them and then they didn't fit, I'd be devastated. The ones that I hand knit fit very well, because I already knew what fit me well and how to check for fit issues while I was knitting it. And I did have to reknit a few sections because I could tell they weren't fitting right. I had to redo the gusset increases, I think 3 or 4 times, in order to get the foot length right. Oh, and the music is starting to skip too. It's like everything wants the stream to end, but it's not time yet. We're almost done. The sock is almost done. At least the camera's still going. The wire is definitely working. literally right after I mention it. What a bastard. Okay, 36. Yes, that's a divisible by 4. Everything's falling apart. The music is skipping. The machine is pitching a fit. Ugh. 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 Gotta love sounds of effort. You just don't get this with hand knitting. I mean, you might. Maybe I just haven't done anything weird enough. Oh yeah, no, that's not true. I definitely make sounds like that when I try to carry around my 7-pound sweater. I made a, I used that, like, ultra jumbo blanket style yarn, and I made a sweater, and it's about 7 pounds. 42. No, because 40. Ugh. Come on! Oh man, it stopped completely. And we're like, genuinely, like, maybe 2 rounds from the end? Maybe only 1. Ugh! Oh, my arm hurts. Yeah, this is literally our last decrease, and then I just have to knit waste yarn. And we can be done. You can be done, knitting machine. Oh my god. Please! I don't ask for much. I'm gonna reverse the directions for the waste yarn. So hopefully that helps some. Ugh. Ow! God damn. I just scraped my arm on the gate pegs. There's these little, like, spiky things on the machine. Thankfully, it didn't draw blood this time. I have had the machine bite me before. I had a mark on my forearm for like a week once. Let's reverse those directions before I forget. And let's get some waste yarn threaded up. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a lot. That might be too little. Yeah, I'm covering the entire camera. Don't worry about that. It'll only be a second. Yeah, this is definitely too much waste yarn, but too much is better than not enough. Whoops. Bumped the camera again. You know, it's still... the whole concept is still in its infancy. I'll work out the kinks over time. The, knitting machine issues. And the, you know, bumping into the camera and stuff. Alright, let's see if it knits a little nicer now that I switched which direction the bottom bit is knitting. Because it did seem like it was knitting fine when I was doing the U-shaped waste yarn, which means that it's almost definitely static on the ribber. Oh, you know what? My static wire is connected to... No, it's connected to one of my clamps. Yeah, that's touching the ribber. I don't know. I don't think that static wire does anything. See, that wasn't so bad. You are capable of knitting like a normal knitting machine. You don't have to throw a fit. Look at the difference. You see this? I mean, the table's shaking, but like you see, no problems this way. That's all it took, was switching the directions. This is kind of a large ball of waste yarn, so this is gonna take a minute. Okay. I've got to take a break real quick, and then I can get this off of the machine and do like the grand reveal. Okay. Let's get this out of the way. My chair squeaked, but it sounded very weird through the microphone, so I apologize for that strange noise. I mean, I don't apologize that much. This is kind of a weird noises stream. Okay, that's the whole thing dealt with. It's off the machine now. I can double check it to make sure it knit properly. Because, like, there's no point in finishing off the sock and weaving in the ends if there's some kind of, like, horrible issue. Some kind of dropped stitch. Or weird explosion or something. I don't know. I've seen these socks do some weird things. And you don't always notice until you get the thing off the machine and you take a good look at it. Because when it's on the machine, you can see this much. There's not a lot of visual info. Okay, that's not a split. It was just a little bit stretched. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, let me snip this yarn. Snip, not sniff. I don't know if it said sniff, but I felt like I said sniff, and I had to clarify. Let's get a good long tail. Oh, my scissors are back here now. Let me just cover up the hole, and also get the camera out of focus. I love doing that. Okay. So, let me zoom out. Here it is. This is the sock that we knit. and by we I mean mostly me. So, this is where we started, up at the white. We knit the ribbing, which needs to get sewed up, as you can see. It's a big slit. But the rest of it is in fact a sock until you get to the toe, which has this big green tube on it at the moment of waste yarn, and my fingers can come out. But I'm going to sew that up. In fact, I'll do that right now because it doesn't take very long. And then we can take off all of the waste yarn, and you can see, because it's going to transform like a princess from this into basically this. I'll still have to sew up the ribbing. I'm going to do that off stream because that takes a while, and I would like to go sit in my desk chair. Well, I would like to go sit in my desk chair and watch some kind of funny YouTube video or something while I do that. First I have to unravel this waste yarn a little bit because it's kind of too much to work with. Okay, so we unravel the waste yarn until we're about here. That's a comfortable amount. In fact, I'm going to try and do this on camera, but we will see. First things first, we gotta get the yarn inside the waste yarn. This is also not a tutorial, by the way. If you don't know how to Kitchener stitch a sock closed, I can't help you, because I think it's so simple I don't even know how I would teach it. Okay, well, I can fix that later. I just have to unravel the waste yarn to get that out. Okay, where are we at? There we are at. So we start with, let me make sure I'm even kind of remotely in focus. It doesn't autofocus, so I'm gonna be in and out of focus as I move this around. In and out. And then we go to the top. The first couple stitches are always the hardest ones. I might have to do this one off camera. Let's see, where are you at? There it is. Okay. Oh, music, come on, we're almost done. And then in, out. Man, this is a good song too, and the skipping is just shredding it to pieces. This also doesn't take as long as doing a short row toe, Kitchenering it In the end, I mean, because there's fewer stitches to sew up. If I was doing a short row I would have to Kitchener off across this entire section. But this is only 20 stitches. I almost always do it here at the machine because I like to take off all of the waste yarn while I'm still sitting here so that I can just put it back and not have to come back into this room later. It's very pineapple-y, especially with this dark green waste yarn. It's sort of a pineapple palette. And I'm not, like, super into pineapple. It's okay. I don't have anything against it. But it's just fine. Nothing to write home about. If you asked me to name, like, the top 5 fruits, I don't think pineapple would crack the list. Maybe not even top 10. I don't know. I do find it interesting, so it might make it to the top 10. But flavor-wise, eh. Certainly unique, which I will give it points for. These last couple are also a bastard and a half. I might have to zoom my eyeballs in, which is to say, get the sock really close to my face so you can't see it. I hope I didn't miss a stitch. I do that sometimes, and it's never fun to fix. But I think that's it. So now we can take off all the waste yarn. Well, most of it. I might not take off the initial waste yarn, because that one like takes a while. But let me just I gotta retrieve my tail here. It got pinned. It's a really long tail because this was a really large ball of waste yarn for no reason. Oh my god, don't repeat the song, please! I would love to know why the media request just starts skipping sometimes, but I don't think I will ever learn the answer to that. It's not for me to know. Okay, tail has been retrieved. We can pull the rest of this yarn off now. And there we go. Nice, clean toe. That can sit there for a second while I finish balling up this waste yarn. Okay. Onward to the next one. Whoop. You don't get to go anywhere, sock. Sit right there. Sit. right there. Not sure what's going on here, but alright. Seems to have sorted itself out. That's 2. We've got 3 more to go, minus the initial one, which I said I might not take out because it takes some time. It's not as easy. This one's the heel turn. Woo! I love how clean they pull out. It's so fun. It feels like magic. It goes from a mess to a nice clean sock with like no extra effort. Oop! One of the stitches got caught on a latch hook. Let me put these latch hooks away. Okay, we're on to this one. It doesn't really matter what order you take these out in. I'm just kind of going in reverse chronological order, more or less. Only 1 more to go! Woohoo! Whoop. You don't get to go anywhere, Sock. You have to stay here and get all this waste yarn taken care of. I'm gonna take off the last one too, because that one's honestly kind of really fun to watch come apart. Because it all comes off in one chunk. And it's not like I've got anywhere else to be. See, it's almost a sock. We've got open ribbing, but otherwise, it's almost a sock. So the ravel cord lets me just kind of pull it out. Oh, what do you mean you're on the wrong side? So bastard to me specifically. Yeah, I gotta flip it over. That's okay. And I have gotten really bad rug burn from doing this before, so It's not the best technique. I mean, it's pretty damn good, but definitely don't get rug burn. It took like a chunk out of my finger. Okay, this should be the last one. Now I should be able to just grab the ring and yank. Yep, here it comes. So, we've got white attached, and then I just kind of pull this magic cord, and now the white is not attached. It just comes off in one chunk. And now our sock is free. So we made a sock. Finally, for once, my stream title has been accurate. We've knit at least one sock. We did it. Mission accomplished. And it's already got a mate, so I can wear these socks later today, or tomorrow even, whenever I feel like it. As soon as I finish sewing up the ribbing, because that's not good. This is what it'll look like when it's done. Let me see if I can get a good shot of that. This is not even the prettiest seam that I've managed, but let me focus. You can see it's a pretty seamless seam. It's this one right here. That's the seam. But that's about it. I really can't milk this for any more content. The sock is done. We knit it. We knit the sock. We finally knit at least one sock. And it's time for me to take a break right now anyway. So that is the end of that.